everybody, this is Prabhjot Singh Nanda and welcome to Read and Succeed. Today we are starting with a new series of books titled as Nellie Nutgraf, the double best reporter in history. So, it's written by Tom Angleberger and illustrated by Gillian Reid. So, this is the first part of this book. Let us begin. Warning! Welcome to the least educational series of all time. Nellie Nutgraf is a newspaper reporter who covers the biggest stories in history. But it's not the history like they teach in school. It's a wacky version where everything happens at once, including a lot of things that didn't really happen. For example, Abraham Lincoln didn't really eat a pastrami sandwich while a volcano exploded. So don't turn that in for your homework or you'll get an F. This book is about Nellie's first story. A volcano explodes. Bigfoot is found and an angry member of the royal family chases Ben Franklin around. Nellie is determined to get it all in front of the page of the big city news. Will it be tough? Yes. Will it be dangerous? Yes. Will it be historically accurate? Never. Chapter 1. Hi, I'm Paul Bunyan. You know the giant lumberjack guy? Right, that's me. Please forgive me if you find the spelling error or two. I am writing this down with a giant tree stub with coal. I was going to use a baby elephant for an eraser, but the darn thing just ran off into the circus. I'm the one writing the story down because I know Nellie Nutgraf better than anybody. You've heard of me, Ben Franklin, Betsy Ross, John Henry, Harriet Tubman, George Washington, Molly Pitcher, and Bigfoot, right? Well, how do you think people heard them about in the first place? No, they didn't watch it on TV, they read all about it in a newspaper, and the woman who wrote most of the stories for them was Nellie Nutgraf, the double best reporter in history. She has the fastest, toughest, fairest, squarest, word fringless reporter who ever lived. Any reporter can get both sides of a story. Nellie could get both sides at the same time. She write what one person was saying down with her right hand and what the other person was saying with her left hand, all while typing up the finished story with her toes. She wrote stories about everything that ever happened. Her first story was her own birth announcement for the newspaper. She couldn't find paper, so she wrote it up on a diaper. Wow. So children, we are starting with the book named as Nellie Nutgraf. And we have just read that Nellie Nutgraf is a reporter, the double best reporter. See, she was the fastest, toughest, fairest and squarest reporter. We can see that she can even write using her toes. Let's read ahead. I'd rather not tell you what she used to write it with. It's kind of gross. I went like this. This is Nellie Nutgraf when she was small. And this shows that what she wrote, that her birth announcement, right? She wrote it on a diaper. And that's when she got the spirit of a reporter. Nutgraf born. Natasha and Fred Nutgraf are the proud parents of me, Nellie Nutgraf. Weight 6 pounds 11 ounces, eyes blue and dimples, said to be adorable by several sources close to maternity ward. Upon birth, the baby, me, was smacked on its behind by the doctor, to which the angry baby, me, replied, "This is an outwitch. I don't cry easy, but I get mad quick. So, watch out, people." But I didn't meet Nellie until much, much later, when she was just getting started with her first big job at the big city big news. So I guess the story I better tell you is one about how we met. Now, even the double best reporter in history has to start somewhere. Nellie Nutgraf decided to start at the top. She walked right into the big city big news, the biggest paper in the country back then, and told them she wanted a job covering the biggest news they had. Amelia Earhart, the Civil War, movie stars, the Louisiana Purchase, Elvis Lucille Ball, and professional wrestling superstars. Whatever you want on the front page tomorrow, I'll go out and get it today, she said, slinging her typewriter over one shoulder. These stories are all taken, said Brian, the editor. But I could use somebody to cover the little bitty, unimportant will. This is an outrage, Nellie shouted. I want your biggest story. Well, said Brian, the editor, looking at his clipboard, it is the biggest story I have left. I'll do it, declared Nellie. They have a town hall meeting tonight. You better get up there, said Brian, the editor. It's a job to write about whatever happens in the little bitty, unimportant will. Does anything ever happen there? She asked. Nope, he said. But you've got to write it about anyway. We can't let the other paper, the New York Hustle stuff, get a story that we missed, ever. Even if it is a terrible, worthless, useless, and boring story. We can't let them get the scoop. So, go get that story. Nellie was determined to write the greatest story about the little bitty, unimportant will. She sharpened her pencil, opened a new notebook, and polished her typewriter. You folks do know about typewriters and ribbons, right? Just imagine a computer that doesn't compute and weighs as much as a large goat, and instead of a screen, it has a piece of paper. When you press a key, a metal bar whacks into an inky ribbon and leaves a mark on the paper. Hopefully the mark looks like the letter you wanted to type. If not, rip it out and start all over again. Nellie put a fresh ribbon in her typewriter and used the old one to tie up her hair. Then she put on the best pair of blue jeans and fanciest flannel shirt. She even cleaned the grime of her glasses, which she usually forgot to do. And she called a taxi and rode out to little bitty unimportant Will. So we can see, children, that this is Nellie Nutgraf. Such a famous reporter, I would say. And now she went to big city, big news place which gives one of the most important and which is one of the biggest companies which tell the news in the country. So she got the news to go to a little town named as Little Bitty Unimportant Will and report what was happening there, because the big city, big news couldn't afford any other news to get that report. So that's why Nellie Nutgraf got that part. And Nellie Nutgraf wanted it to be the best. And now we can see that she is going on a taxi. Well, not she, but she is taking the taxi with a horse in it up onto the Mount McMadge. And the horse pulling the taxi got tired, so the horse got in. And Nellie got out and pulled it the rest of the way up the mountain. That's how badly she wanted to get the story. So we can see that Nellie Nutgraf is so determined that she wanted to do that story. We can see her passion. Her passion was being a reporter. Let's read ahead. Because she was so much faster than the horse, she got there early. She ran into the town hall, which was also the high school gym. She sat in the front row and got ready to write down all the action. For the first hour, nothing happened other than gym teachers pumping up basketballs. Finally, the town council members came in and set up a folding table under one of the basketball hoops, and the meeting got started. We've called this meeting to discuss our plans, to discuss holding a meeting, for planning a discussion about meeting to make plans, said the gym teacher, who was also the mayor. Please limit your comments to half an hour each. Then everybody took turns talking and yammering and a blathering and a wheezing and whining and a complaining and a boasting, and Nellie fell asleep. She woke up when the mayor banged the gavel and said, "Meeting adjourned." Everybody left. Nellie looked down at her notebook. It was completely blank. The taxi had already left because the horse had a hot day back in the city. So Nellie had to walk all the way back down to the office. While she walked, she thought how badly she had blown it. It was morning by the time she got back to the office. In fact, now she was late for work on top of everything else. She opened the door and went to Brian, the editor, was already there. She wondered what she should apologize for first. Either way, she knew that Brian, the editor, would fire her. She would never become the double best reporter in history. Unless she thought hopefully something else happened that's so big that they've forgotten all about my story. Like maybe a volcano is about to explode. I can't talk now, Nellie, said the Brian the editor. I'm on the phone with President Hoover. He says, there's a volcano about to explode. Where's the volcano, sir? Brian the editor asked President Hoover. Where? Mount McMurge, right under little bitty unimportant whale. Brian the editor wanted to give the volcano story to a hotshot Tobolsky. Hotshot Tobolsky does all the biggest story, he said. This is an outrage, said Nellie. Little bitty unimportant whale is my beat. That means whatever happens there is my story. I guess you're right, said Brian, the editor. Hotshot Tobolsky cried like a baby. You better hurry, said Brian, the editor. I am hurrying, said Nellie. Remember, it's spelled Volcano. Yep, said Nellie, carrying her typewriter out the door. And most importantly, said Brian the editor, be careful. Sure, said Nellie as she waved down a taxi. Remain a safe distance from the volcano at all times, called Brian the editor. But Nellie didn't hear him. She was in the taxi and speeding towards a smoking, rumbling, lava-packed volcano. To be continued. We can see, children, that Nellie Nutgraf was so determined to get that story of this volcano that she ran into the taxi and she was not even listening to the editor. She was so happy. That was the happiest moment in her life. She thought that she could be the double best reporter in the history of the reporters. So children, with this our story book 1 ends, and to be continued. We'll see you next day. Have a nice day, everybody. Bye bye.